Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in again live today. It's always appreciated. We always love it when people tune into this. You are currently watching the Skill Building Sunday Drawing Group here on the Reinventing the Tattoo Network. This is a live stream started on March 19th at 1 p.m. And I'm your host, Jason Leeser. And if this is working for you, please let us know in the comments and in the chats. And please tag a friend who loves tattoos. And welcome to Guy Aitchison's Reinventing the Tattoo community, where tattooers, apprentices, collectors, and the curious are all encouraged to join in these live streams, real world events, to share and inspire and ultimately create better art and tattoos together. We beam out nearly every day, and with your help have evolved into a quality network of amazing live and on-demand tattoo and art shows that have all been receiving rave reviews. You can find Reinventing the Tattoo in both of the app stores, the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, as well as our Reinventing the Tattoo YouTube channel, our Reinventing the Tattoo Roku channel, which has 12 to 15 episodes going at any given time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, as well as all of the major podcast directories such as Apple and Spotify. Or you can just search for Reinventing the Tattoo on your web browser and you can find all of it there, except for the book. The book's out of print. I can't even get a copy of it, so good luck with that. Maybe eBay sometimes. But no matter where you are watching live or on demand, you can always get the latest and greatest, most up-to-date information, all available at www.reinventingthetattoo.com. You can try it out for free. We've got a number of different options for some samples. You can try a sample webinar from the Reinventing the Tattoo Canon. You can try out some free advice from Guy on personal goal setting, or you can also take a look and maybe try out the comprehensive tattoo history course from Jay Brown. You can also find a full event schedule with full weekly and special event live stream details, all at www.reinventingthetattoo.com. You can also find access to the Reinventing 24/7 channel, which is a lot like our Roku channel. It's got 13 different episodes playing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and a number of other professional development webinars from over 20 world-class tattooers, all available at www.reinventingthetattoo.com. Once again, if this is working for you, please drop us a comment or a chat, and please tag a friend who loves tattoos. You know, maybe it's someone who's interested in doing tattoos, or maybe it's someone that already does them. Maybe they're just looking for another source of tattoo information. Maybe they're looking to further their tattoo career. Well, this is always a great place to start. We've got a number of weekly staple episodes that we always encourage people to tune into, starting on Sundays here at 1 p.m. with me, Jason Leeser, for the Skill Building Sunday Drawing Group. And that's followed on Mondays with 3 different shows, starting at 9 a.m. with Drawing for Tattooers with James Wisdom, where we go through and discuss basic drawing techniques and strategies. And we focus on different elements of art. It's absolutely phenomenal. Highly recommend you tune into it. That's Mondays at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Following that, Mondays at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, we have Let's Talk About Feelings with Robbie Ripple, where we go through and we can kind of let loose and vent about some of the things that are bothering us. Following that, on Mondays at 9 p.m., we have a subscriber exclusive drawing group with Sandy McAndrew from the Reinventing the Tattoo Network, where we go through and systematically cover different sections and different chapters in the Reinventing the Tattoo canon. Now, that is only available to people that are subscribers to the Reinventing the Tattoo Evolution course, or have a yearly subscription to the Reinventing the Tattoo canon itself. So unless you've got a subscription to one of those, you're not really going to be able to access it, which stinks because it's absolutely awesome. Following that, on, Wednesdays, we have the Tattoo Now show with Gabe Ripley. And on Thursdays at 6 p.m., capping off the week, we have the Tattoo Collecting 101 podcast with Fawn Baker. It's absolutely awesome, by the way. Highly recommend you check that out. Would like to go through and take a minute to thank some of our sponsors and some of the people that help make this show happen, starting off with worldtattooevents.com, the largest, most comprehensive resource for tattoo events worldwide. As we know, living in this post-pandemic world, certain tattoo events are still getting rescheduled like crazy. So if you want the latest and greatest, most up-to-date information on tattoo events happening in the area of the world that you live in, or maybe it's an area of the world that you want to visit, take a look at worldtattooevents.com for the most up-to-date information on tattoo events everywhere. Next, we have tattoonow.com, technology for tattooers, the leading edge in professional development, management, and digital tools for tattooers of all levels. They're constantly keeping everything upgraded and up to date. They're 100% competitive with any kind of CRM, mailing list, or scheduling software out there. So if you're really looking for a way to optimize the studio you work in, if you're really looking for a way to try to attract more of those clients that you really want to tattoo, that get the kind of work that you really want to do, tattoonow.com is the #1 resource and place to go for how to make that happen. Reach out to them. I can guarantee you will not be disappointed with anything that they have going on. I highly recommend it. They have done wonders for myself and plenty of other people out there. And of course, this wouldn't be Reinventing the Tattoo without a very heartfelt and deep professional and personal thank you to the founder and inspiration behind Reinventing the Tattoo, Guy Aitchison, who you can find at guyaitchison.com. He is the founder and inspiration behind Reinventing the Tattoo. Go to guyaitchison.com where you can pick up a copy of his biomech encyclopedias, some of his fine art prints. Sometimes he's got some original oil paintings for sale up there too. You never really know unless you go and you check it out at guyaitchison.com. Would also like to say a very personal, heartfelt thank you to 2 of our affiliates and 2 people that really helped drive me to be a better tattoo artist. The Apprenticeship Diaries with Amy Nichols, absolutely amazing resource for people out there looking to become a tattoo apprentice and don't really quite know what to expect. Take a look at the Apprenticeship Diaries. Amy Nichols has gone through and done amazing interviews with a lot of different professional people in different areas and different industries about what it's like to be an apprentice. Also, I would like to say a very personal thank you to Jake Meeks over at the Fireside Tattoo Network. Absolutely awesome source of information. He's got some incredible videos and some absolutely stunning interviews that he has done with top-notch tattoo artists all over the world. Go take a look at the Fireside Tattoo Network. And last but definitely not least, very personal shout out and thank you to Tatcom and Aaron Williams, the mad scientist. You guys absolutely rock. Tatcom is helping to forge a path into the science of tattooing, and they're helping to create tools that tattooers can use on a daily basis that can help them really go through and really, absolutely master what they are doing. So if you're looking for the latest tattoo technology to really help you apply better tattoos, take a look at Tatcom. These guys are seriously obsessed with tattoo technology. So take a look at that for sure. As always, we ask that if you like today's episode, please go through and post a positive review on our channel. Help us get the word out. If you would like to host a Reinventing the Tattoo event, become a sponsor of our community, or maybe you're just looking for a fine art or a tattoo critique, you can always email management at reinventingthetattoo.com and we will get back to you just as soon as we can. Kind of wraps up the intro, and we've got a number of different people waiting for us today. I think I saw Seth Mushrush was in the waiting room. Don't know if he's still there or not. We've got Patrick McKay with us. Let's save that.
You're just always saying my last name wrong, dude.
Mackie, I'm sorry, dude. I'm so sorry, man.
No, you're good. It's easy to mix up, honestly. It's a very deceiving last name.
It is. I'm starting to notice that.
It is very deceiving.
And let's see, we've got Seth with us today. How's it going? Yeah, close. No. And Seth just joined us, although he's not on video just yet.
What's up, guys?
What's up, Seth?
What's going on, dude?
Hey there.
That thing is looking badass.
Yeah, buddy.
Oh, thank you,
Mhm.
dude. I've gotten a little bit further over the past few weeks, and now I'm like reworking the little piggy at the bottom.
We've got a
Yeah.
couple of people that have joined us on the YouTube as well. We've got David Brown. What's up? What's up? And Kyle Olson. How's it going, bud?
Kyle.
Amber's back in the studio.
Yes, Amber is back in the studio. Amber, we hope you're doing a lot better.
Oh, I am. Thank you so much. And I appreciate all your well wishes and everything. They really did help.
Awesome.
Good.
I am all mended up.
So I am actually working on something that I will be going through and finishing up at the Skindustry Expo in Allentown, Pennsylvania, coming up this coming weekend. I always like to go through and kind of just do a little bit of a rough, just like a little bit of a rough value study. Got some dotted lines there that I used for my stencil, so I'm just getting rid of those real quick. I thought I had a version without them, but apparently I do not.
Awesome.
Yeah, I do like to do a little bit of a, as I said, a value study, just to like basically lay out my highlights, my shadows, where certain areas are, what I want to go where, you know, that kind of stuff. So I think that's what I'm going to be working on a little bit today, just in preparation for the show coming up.
Did you already outline it?
Yeah, everything's already outlined, which, I thought I was going to be working on it a bit more when I was down at the Philadelphia show, because we started it down there.
Is it on your buddy?
It's on a friend of mine named Patrick Schmidt. He's like a brother to me. This dude single-handedly helped me survive COVID, and all this other stuff. Like he is a patron of the arts, to say the least. He is an absolute human being with like limitless potential. I've done a full sleeve on him, well, 2 full sleeves on him. 1 single chest plate on his left side. There was a painting that his grandfather did. And now we're working on a chest plate on his right side to kind of go into this big dragon sleeve that we started on him. So it's going to be awesome to see everything kind of like finished up. And he booked out all day Friday, so that should be a fun time. Once
Good way
again,
to start that show.
absolutely. I don't really have too much else booked for that show, and I'll give you guys a preview of some of the flash designs I will have available in just a second. So if anyone's looking to get tattooed and you want something awesome and in color, come and see me at the Skindustry Expo. It is going to be absolutely awesome. I've got a whole bunch of new designs that I'm bringing with me. Things like this little Luna Moth design.
Oh, wow.
Be perfect for like an outer arm half sleeve, or like, a thigh piece, shin piece would be pretty cool with it. Even like a forearm piece, but I'd have to shrink it and get rid of some of the detail. I've got a candle burning at both ends with like toxic green flames, right? Because who doesn't like super bright colors, right? And if no one takes that double-sided candle, my coworker already volunteered to get it done. I got another like neo-trad kind of like leaf or feather thing going on. That'll be coming with me too. That should be really cool for like
that's pretty.
Ornamental. I really like the muted yellow and bronze tones next to these very bright teals. Just
Yeah, man.
looks
Yeah.
so nice. Let's see. I've got this little bird that I drew up, kind of like a different
Just
take on
looking
a
at that.
sparrow.
Like that.
Nice.
Yeah, a little bit of a different take. Nothing crazy. That one I could do fairly small, so that one could be fun. I'm also working on a Ouija board pancetta. I think that's how you say it.
Planchet.
Nice.
Planchet, with like a bat, a little curled up bat.
Oh, that
So
looks
I think that would
cool.
be pretty cool. Like even if you did it
Yeah.
upside down, I'm gonna put like the circle in it, right? Let's move my line drawing to the
It's like a
top.
flying fox.
Right. Yeah, I wanted to do a fruit bat. I've done some with like vampire bats before. But I wanted to do something a little bit nicer and a little bit kind of like softer, a little bit less edgy. Just because I kind of like it. Thought it would be a little bit of a different twist. So I've got something like that I'm working on as well. I was just working on this guy the other day, finishing up a color version of this. I might actually end up making prints of this. So yeah, be on the lookout for a whole bunch of smaller prints for this guy.
Hey, that the bat that you had up there, are you gonna do would you do the lines like the outline of that the Ouija board thing, would you do those in that lavender purple color? Because I kind of like that effect of like, where the
I
bat
could.
is its own image, and then that's like over time. It's just wild looking because it's recognizable. Like everybody kind of knows what that is, that shape,
Right.
disc in the middle, but not have it like interrupted by anything. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, just
Like a
keeping
light
that
purple.
basic shape there, without really doing like a hard, bold perimeter line, just using the shape to create the outline.
Oh no, I mean like using the purple that you have laid out there, like that double line purple, and then the purple line in the middle for the window. It's just like straight up like that. Like I mean, where the back goes over the double line, maybe crop it to the inside of the heart, but it's just interesting. Like if you just had, there you go, lighten that part up. Yeah, that looks fucking crazy, man.
Yeah, definitely be different. I was actually thinking about filling in to this interior perimeter line with like a black, even if it was just, something subtle like
charcoal gray.
Filling, like even just like a charcoal gray. Granted, I'm just like sketching it in now, but just to give me some of that nice definitive shape on the interior.
Sure.
And then leaving basically nothing in between that inner line and the outer line. Could do something like that.
Yeah, that's crazy. Awesome. Put it up. Get it out there.
Oh, I am, dude. I am. I got all kinds of like little stuff though. Like little flowers. I got this this honeybee that I drew up a while ago. I'll probably be bringing that with me. That would have to be done at such a size though that like that would probably take me a few hours. I went back through and revamped a couple of designs. This guy will be up for grabs. Little peony flowers and stuff like that. Some cherry blossoms. If I have time, I'm going to work on a chrysanthemum, like a nice size chrysanthemum. Already started sketching one out.
Cool.
Just to like, I like mums. I like the way that they flow and you can get the petals to flow in any direction you want. So I've been trying to play around with that a little bit. And you know me, I'm very inspired by my buddy Phibbs, who's the chrysanthemum king. So
yeah, that dude's stuff is super sick.
Yeah, let's pull up his stuff and we'll see kind of what he's been doing lately. Let's take a look here. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, just his layout in general is just fascinating. His mindset is just, he's on a totally different level. And having gotten to talk to him a bit, at a couple of different shows, and obviously staying in touch with him over the years after he's tattooed me, and he tattooed the hell out of me. It's just, he's just an awesome dude. But like understanding his mindset and like where he's going and what he's trying to focus on is just, it's another level of thinking about things, Let's see if I can find him. For some reason, he's not popping up. Let's see.
I saw Amber had, what's she working on?
I am painting some flash art.
Nice.
I did a flash sheet of a bunch of different bottles, and now I'm just watercoloring them in.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Those leaves are great.
Thank you.
Yeah. The way they move.
I've been meaning to work on this sheet for weeks. I've just been putting it off.
What kind of watercolors are you using there?
Hold on one second. That's too much water. There we go. They're Aristo.
Watercolors.
Artisto. Sorry.
Oh,
I always pronounce it
Artisto.
wrong.
Like those little cases are very convenient traveling.
Yes, it's even got a little thumb thing on the bottom that I can just hook it on.
Nice.
Yeah, it goes everywhere with me.
So this is one of my favorite pieces that I got to watch Fibs do. Let's share screen. Share. So I watched, this was a collaborative piece done by Fibs and Jay Marceau from Canada. And I got to watch them knock it all out, start to finish in 2 days. And
They're not
all
shy
of the,
about black.
no, but that's something that, I think a lot of artists, and it's something I got to talk to Fibs a lot about was, I noticed a lot of what he was doing since like quarantine and COVID. I noticed a lot of it had changed and changed very drastically, and I wanted to kind of understand what was it that he was really trying to focus on now. Because everything he did went from very subtle to crazy bold, like overnight. And it's like, he's posting up a lot of stuff now that's got so much super dark, saturated black. And, talking to him about it, he's like, yeah, think about contrast, right? What were some of the most high contrast designs that were ever created? He's like, tribal, right? Because it's black and skin tone, right? And it stood out and it held over time and it was there and it stuck out like a sore thumb because of how dark that contrast was. He's like, so I'm trying to pump more areas of solid black that flow in accordance with the human body, and he's like, and it's just doing so well over time. So he's really focusing on contrast. He's really focusing on flow and fit. He's really focusing on, like you don't see hardly any light grays in here. You might see a couple of little spots of it, but a lot of it's just black and skin tone. He's not going over the top with like value or shading or depth. He's allowing the body to create that using natural shadows that are created by these different muscle groups. And I think it's absolutely fascinating.
That's really cool.
Even stuff like this sleeve. It's like there's hardly any value in the chrysanthemum petals themselves. You know, there's a little bit here and a little bit there, but most of it is just line and then black background with a couple of little accent skin tone lines to help move your eye around the piece. Looks like he's got a couple of little white spots in there, but that's pretty much it. Skin tone and black. And it's super dynamic.
You'd be able to see what that thing is from across the fucking street too.
Absolutely.
Exactly. You know, big shapes, high contrast. Hopefully none of these pictures get the live stream pulled, but you know, here he uses a bit more like mid-tone and light gray value, but you still see a lot of that very, very bold, super dark mixed with very light skin tone. And it really, really brings the contrast forward. You know, even looking at stuff like this, you know, look at how he uses his line and negative space to create these shapes in a super high contrast fashion. You know, overlapping elements, creating tiny little bits of like a little bit of a drop shadow, but a lot of it is just super bold, super dark. And you know it's going to be there and look just like that for the rest of the time. You know, and that's all in contrast. You know, contrast is key. It absolutely is key. You know, even things such as like straight lines, which can kind of be a pain sometimes. You know, he's using a lot of like straight visual lines to help contrast out a lot of other wavy lines. You know, so really focusing on more like geometric and visual lines of interest. So it's absolutely fascinating. Another person whose work that I've really been loving lately is come on, pop up. Where are you? There we go. Christina Christie. And I always rave about Christina's work. And she's such a sweetheart too. She really is. But her use of muted tones and contour lines are absolutely fantastic. I mean, just if you zoom in on any of her pieces, look at the contour lines that she's including. They're very, very subtle, but look at the contour lines being used in the face, the neck, even certain parts of the body, the hands, you know, very muted color palettes with like certain
Looks
bright colors.
very much like inspired by Adrian Lee.
Yes, very much. You know, but I really like her use of contour line, and having gotten a chance to talk to her before on a private Zoom call was fascinating because, you know, and I think I've mentioned this in previous episodes, she's planning for her tattoos to look exactly the way they do 60 years down the road. You know, she's not really, you know, planning for the short term. She's not like, oh, well, if it needs a touch up in 20 years, you know, whatever. She's like, no, I want this tattoo to look exactly this way 60 years from now. You know, and that to me was like mind blowing. But just looking at her use of contour line, especially in faces, is just astounding. Her use of color, warms and cools, and muted and saturated colors is fantastic. I think this one was inspired by an Alex Gray piece. But she's got, you know, tons and tons of work. Highly recommend you check her out. It's Christina Tattoos on Instagram. And she is absolutely phenomenal. We've got a couple of people in the YouTube. David Brown said, nothing much for me. Pyro Devil said, greetings from Austria. How's it going? And Kyle Olson again said, hello. Hello, Kyle. So now I am going to get back to, you know what? I think that one's good. I think I'm just going to go back to working on that oil painting. No, I should do the value study. I should do the value study. That's what I should do. So
I would say follow your heart with it.
yeah, it's sometimes really difficult for me to like prioritize things. Medusa's here. What's up, Medusa?
Hi.
And how are you doing today?
Good. I just got off a Zoom call with Kyle B.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, we just spent some time talking about our research with tattoo history and all of that. Sharing information, where we're getting our sources, what our plans are with our own individual researches. And
Oh, that's what I forgot to look up.
yeah, I was just gonna text you actually, if you could send me the info about the anthropologist that you were talking about.
Yeah, sorry about that. This past week has been absolutely bonkers.
I totally understand. Yeah, it's been bonkers for me as well. I haven't even looked at my tattoo history stuff until this morning, like all week. Yeah, Kyle and I were just probably on a Zoom call for like an hour sharing information and talking about what we're doing. So that was super fun. And then I joined on here and I saw some fib stuff and I was all like, ooh, nice.
So one tattoo anthropologist you can reach out to is Lars Kurtak. And I can send you the links too.
Yeah, that'd be really fucking sick. How do you spell Kurt what?
Don't worry about it. I'm
Okay.
sending you the links.
Sweet. Thank you.
I apologize for not doing it earlier.
Don't even worry about it. You and I have both been busy. I'm not stressing.
So there's one link. Most people that are into academics like this love to go through and share their information. And they love to go through and network and work with other people in other areas to help educate. And they love doing that kind of stuff.
That is fucking cool.
I would love to see like some kind of like a simple illustrated version of a tattoo family tree. Just see that kind of go out and talk about that all the time. And you're talking about the history. I know you're focusing more on the history of it through thousands of years, but just focusing. I don't even know if something like this exists. Maybe Jason or somebody out there knows.
Compiling a family tree, like who mentored who.
Correct. Like have it go all the way back and see, you know what I mean? You start, and you could have different versions of it. You could have an American traditional tattoo family tree. You could have a Japanese family tree. You could have a portrait family tree. Just all these guys and girls that are influenced by other people and how they, you know, it doesn't have to be just like a simple version of it, you know, kind of connecting the dots and seeing like the kind of lineage, because I feel like as time goes on, social media, the web gets spun so wide, and you kind of
I think that's
direct contact.
I think that's a really good idea that we could all contribute to collaboratively. Like it'd be pretty much impossible for one person to track all of that information down. But like if we set up like a little web page where each of us could just, you know, like jot down, make a spread, little webs connects, like, hey, this person taught this person who taught this
Yeah.
person, and then like fucking Seth, you just be like, oh, I know that person, so and so taught them, and so taught
Yeah.
them, and then with the collaborative effort of everybody looking into it, because that's a lot for one person to do alone, but that would be a
Oh,
really
yeah.
fucking great group project.
Well,
And
not
like,
just
It'd be fun.
not just that,
And then-
but you also have to remember that a lot of it's geographically isolated, right? So you've got a lot of people that are on the East Coast that came up on the East Coast, people that can trace their lineage through
East Coast tattooers, West
Right.
Coast tattooers. Yeah.
But they might not necessarily know a whole lot of like the West Coast tattooers, and the people that started out on the West Coast. Granted, it gets into a bit of a catch-22 there, because like technically you see a lot of people that started out on the East Coast that moved to the West Coast, but there's also people that are purely strictly from the West Coast. Look at Tahiti Felix, for example.
dude, LA has its very own tattoo family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of these are people that were never taught by anyone else. They started their own family trees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
The
had to
whole,
learn on that.
Philly, New York, like you're saying, East Coast, all the way down to like I would say probably like the Carolinas, and then up through New York, parts of Connecticut, Rhode Island. I feel like you could lump all them together. You're saying LA, you could probably do 2 pages just on LA.
Yeah. So, well, I'd say Southern California. And I mean, it would probably be closer to 5, just because I know, for example, Tahiti Felix, who has the oldest tattoo studio in Southern California, because he opened it in, I think, like the early 50s. And he has spawned and influenced and taught so many different tattooers in the California state that it's ridiculous.
Like
Yeah, go ahead.
Charlie Wagner was like a mentor to like 50 people.
Exactly.
And Maud Wagner as well. And
Yeah.
like all of those people went on to teach other people too. So fuck, dude, we can make a world fucking map. That's gonna take a lot of effort and everybody contributing. But I would like to get like an online source started if we could find some sort of tree
You'd have
to
to do it
build
like-
off of.
Yeah, you'd have to do like a where one section is like you and Jason were saying, one section is just one area of the country. Like start with the U.S. with what we know and with what's the most accessible. But you can have footnotes next to some of those people, because maybe some of the people that are on certain branches of the tree studied abroad, flew somewhere, traveled somewhere and studied with this other artist. And then you can reference, by seeing that footnote, then go to whatever page has those artists and reference it. But like the end game, like what would the end game to be to all of that, besides just knowing who learned from who? Maybe it offers a way for people to expand their knowledge and imagery repertoire, like going, I wonder who learned how to draw, how this guy learned how to draw dragons like that. And then you start
end
looking back
game?
and then like seeing
The end
Like,
game
is
is
it
finding an
too-
invitation list to the next family reunion.
yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
I think one thing that we might have to look out for, just playing devil's advocate here, is some people may try to use that information and say, oh, well, it's documented that I learned from so-and-so, when they may have never had any interaction with that person. But they may try to use it to validate like their tattoo career and things of that nature. Once again, just playing devil's advocate here.
Well, I would think that that's a great question and a good point.
So
I
we
think
would have
that,
to be able to
there would-
verify.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There'd have to be verification on that. Like you can say, like I can say, hey, I learned from this person, but then that person would have to verify that I did indeed learn from them or work. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
hey, I spent 6 months working in New Mexico at this shop, and then that shop or those artists would then have to go, that is correct. Like yes, they did. And, I mean, just
And that's where
it'd just be a neat thing.
that's where I think certain types of politics may get into it, because like, as we all know, and I know James Wisdom and I have had similar experiences where both James and I have apparently died like 6 times, just from like fallouts with people that we used to work with in different studios, because that used to be, the thing, right? Where it's, if you're working at a studio and things go south and you end up leaving, in order to maintain a certain artist clientele base that they have built through their own talent and technique, a lot of times studio owners will go through and be like, oh, that person doesn't tattoo anymore, they died, how can I help you?
Oh yeah, that's not. That goes more than just maintaining a studio base. That goes out of a fear of losing your clients.
Absolutely.
Because the person that you just pissed off enough to quit, or that you fired, they're good enough to take those clients.
Exactly.
So
okay,
like,
can we park for a second on the politics of all of that? Because it's something that, I mean, I've been tattooing for 23 years, and I'm definitely like I'm not part of like the clique of cool kid tattooer things. Like, I just do my thing. I kind of keep to myself. I don't travel all over the place and stuff like that. But can I just say how utterly frustrating, disappointing, and it's sometimes absolutely sickening how politics play a part in all of this and what we do. We are paid illustrators. We're very fortunate to do what it is that we do, and to get to have clients that will follow us from shop to shop, or allow us to express ourselves, take their ideas and spin them and stuff. Like, we're all really, really fortunate. But the whole like old school mentality of like, I was at a shop before where you had a falling out with the owner, and as I'm packing my stuff up, the person's like calling my clients to let them know they don't know where I'm going, but if they want them to finish the tattoo, they'd be more than happy to do it. And they knew exactly where I was going, like where I was going to be working and stuff. And it just like stuff like that, and slandering people because they're not working at your shop anymore. Like, if we focus on just doing good artwork and treating people right, I feel like, especially nowadays with how expansive the industry has really gotten, and social media and TV media, and it's out in the mainstream. There's plenty to go around if you just do a good job. Don't talk trash on somebody. Don't be spiteful. Don't do that, because all you're doing is carrying poison in your own jar, and that ruins the jar that you're carrying it in. Like,
that's a good analogy.
Yeah, that's an old one.
I completely agree.
Messed that up.
Unfortunately, there are still certain people around that, carry a lot of those old school mentalities. They shouldn't, but they do. And it's hard for them to get away from it.
Yeah, the things are taking over, carpal tunnel and physical ailments and eyesight and things like that. As time goes on, some of them it's even worse. Like booze or whatever it is, they're failing health. Like they're going to be dying off. And I just hope that this, one day I'll be part of that crew that's dying off. And I hope that the younger crew that's coming up, all understands that like the best way to get further is to just do it together. Just be nice. Don't fill your life with the politics of, well, I can't talk to this person because they work at that shop. No, fuck that. Like, if they're a good person or they're a good artist, then or sit down with them and talk to them. Don't waste your time, not talking to somebody because you heard from somebody else that they did this shitty thing. Like, make these decisions for yourself. And if you decide that they're not worth your time, then don't let them be worth your time. Don't waste your time airing all this stuff out and putting it out there. And because you're making waves in a pool that's, believe it or not, as many tattooers as are out there, the pool's it's a small pool,
Right.
And you start splashing all the water out of it, and all it does is make a mess. And the people trying to get into it end up slipping and getting in the wrong way. You know what I mean?
I couldn't agree more. You know, and that's why, you know, I never wish ill upon anyone. And even those people out there that have said that I've died 1,000 times, or, you know, wished ill upon me or made up stories about me in the past or whatever, I wish them the best of luck. I do.
Yeah, that's the
I
best thing you
honestly,
can do.
I hope that they go through, and I hope they live a very long and successful life, because
Always take
I
the
don't
high
have
road.
time for it. You know, I'm sorry. I don't have time to, like, you know, get bent or get butt hurt about, you know, people saying things about me.
It
I'm too
seems like
busy
such a
focused
waste
on my
of
own
energy.
career. It is. And that's all they want to do, is they want you to waste your energy on their negativity. And
Yes.
I just don't have time for that. Sorry.
No.
Nope.
Always take the high road, because if you do, you'll have nothing to regret. Even if it doesn't work out with that person, or you never end up talking to them again, just always take the high road. Anybody out there who's getting into this business, do not fall into the trap of the old school politics of this business, because it sucks and it's on its way out. And the old grumpy, curmudgeon-y type of attitude, there's just no room for it anymore. There's, just be happy when somebody else is doing good. Be happy that you have a peer out there that's crushing it, because
Right.
if they're crushing it, then that's more of an opportunity for you to crush it. Like, they're just going to inspire more people to get tattooed. And then maybe you sit down and talk to them, go, you know what, this person's not a bad guy, like, or a bad girl. Like, I don't notice any attitude. They were perfectly nice to me.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah. Be nice to everyone and just be a decent human.
that's it.
You know, even if people sling mud your way, be like, hey, thanks. I didn't have mud before, but I do now. I appreciate that.
No
know,
mud,
and
no
move on.
Rhoda.
Exactly. It's like, cool, I have mud. I can grow plants now. You know,
That being said, too, don't ever forget that we are all pirates. We're all hired guns. We're hired art. Don't
well, I
don't
think
be too
we're
proud for
actually,
anything.
I think we're actually starting to, you know, we are hired guns. We are hired illustrators and artists. I do agree with that. But I think we're starting to move away from the whole concept of being a pirate. You know, there are still plenty of pirates out there. There's no getting around that. But, you know, we're starting to move into an age in which we are a professional trade. We are part of a professional and legitimate, you know, high value commodity. You know, some people would liken what we do to being professional animators and illustrators and, you know, just
Sure.
working in a different medium. Other people would say, you know what, we're more like commercial photographers. You know, people want photographs made to illustrate a certain product or to put on their web page to show a certain thing or whatever. Well, we're kind of doing the same thing, only we're not taking photographs. We're creating illustrations and drawings and fine artwork to illustrate what people want to convey. You know,
Yeah.
maybe it's a memorial, maybe it's, you know, kind of like a warning sign, maybe it's a sign of struggle or something that they've overcome. But we're being paid to illustrate that on a professional level. And especially with everything in this day and age, you know, it's starting to take on an entirely different persona. Look at Russ Abbott and everything he puts forth. You know, you want to make money in this industry in this day and age, you have to have a business sense. Whether you're a hired gun, whether you're you know, an independent freelance artist, whether you're a traveling artist, or if you're working at a high-end studio doing your own thing. You know, if you want to be anything in this industry in this day and age, if you want to make enough money to survive, you have to, number one, push yourself and work harder than the next person. And number two, you have to have a keen business sense in order to keep that going. Because if you don't, you're never going to be able to survive and you're never going to be able to put food on your table.
I agree.
Completely agree with that also.
You know, it's like, this is a changing, or as, I mean, I guess you could call it a renaissance, even though in my opinion, the tattoo renaissance started in like 2000, or
Yeah, because that was shaking
thereabouts.
off the 90s. Yeah, shaking off the old school type of thing. But those
Right.
hanger-ons that are like mad at people for using the tools that they use, or the approach that they use, or the way that, well, I just, I don't know. It's just crazy. Like certain things they're very much preferential, and they're unique to the person. What's the word I'm looking for here? It's all relevant to to the client, and all relevant to the artist. Like some people do different things. Not everybody makes a sandwich the same way. As long as they're making good food, you know what I mean, or good art, it doesn't matter how they apply it or how they do it. They treat the people right so that those people tell more people to keep coming back. Because how many times you send a friend out there you send a client out there with an awesome piece of work, and 3 or 4 of their friends want to get work done, and they don't come see you. They don't even come to your shop. But you find out they went to a buddy shop and they got good work done there, and that was inspired by something you did on somebody else. And that's just the way that trickle down effect works. However, you treat somebody like crap, or you badmouth somebody else, nobody wants to hear
10
that. Nobody
people
wants to be
that
a part
know.
of that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I always find it interesting when like you tattoo one person on a whim as like a walk-in. Because I'm not above doing walk-ins. I'll do them. I'll
Yeah,
do small
you
little
should.
angel numbers or whatever's popular now. I'll do that. I got no problems with that, because you know what? That person's going to go home, and next thing you know, their dad or mom or sister or cousin or friend, they're all going to start coming to me.
Yep. 100%. You never know. Even like I always encourage people to stop into the shop. If we have people that'll roll in just to check it out. Older people that have no interest in getting a tattoo, but maybe they have a niece or a nephew that does, and because like you had said, Jason stated that it is becoming a respected profession. People talk about it more openly and directly, like it's, as a matter of fact, instead of it being a taboo type of subject matter to bring up, it's very normal. It's just like, oh, my niece got tattooed by so and so, and they're like, oh, I heard about that. It was a great shot. Like you're talking about it like as if you were referring to like an architect or something. So and so
Exactly.
had their pool designed by this guy. Oh, that's great. We use this other person, and one thing I could stress more than anything is just remember that we're all in this shit together, and if we treat each other well and then treat the clients well, there'll be plenty to go around for a long time. And the industry's only getting cooler. I mean, all that stuff that Russ is doing is wild,
Right.
But that just, and he and I have had a brief interaction and conversation where I was unsure about certain things. I was like, I don't know how I feel about just putting stamps out there for things. And then we had a dialogue about it. And it's just, even though I disagreed with it at first, having that dialogue with him, it opened my eyes to oh yeah, it's just a tool. It's all this is. It's an educational tool. It's something to use to get better. There's going to be people out there that will misuse things, but that's fine. That's for them. That's for them
With
to figure out.
everything though.
It's not for me to be mad about. It's it's ridiculous. People are only trying to help other people get better. Everything that Guy's done since the 90s, what you're doing now, Jason, the conversations we're having, it's all about trying to share knowledge, make other people better, and just being nice. And it goes a long, long way. And I just have so much love for this industry, and I find that the more the time goes on, I don't get worn out, and I don't get burned out. I get more excited. I wish there was more days in the week to do it.
And that's something that I think burnout that you just said is it's something that I think we all as artists experience somewhat on a very acute basis. But those people that are truly passionate about tattoos and tattooing, in the long-term aspect of things, you don't see them getting burnout. You don't see them losing their passion and their drive for it. I mean, much like yourself, you've been doing this over 2 decades, and you're still jumping in, you're still learning new things, trying new things. You've still got that drive and that passion for it. And there's a lot to be said there. I've met certain artists that they might turn around and they might be like, yeah, I've been doing it for like 15 years. I'm kind of over it. As much as I still do it, it's like, yeah, whatever, 15 years have passed and, it's just
I
not.
can't imagine. Can't
I was
imagine
just thinking
being
the
like,
same thing. I can't imagine ever feeling that way.
are you kidding
me
me?
either.
Yeah, this is
And
the
I'm
coolest
sitting
job
back
in
and
the
I'm
world.
like, I remember hearing that from one artist and I was just like, well, I don't really want to associate with you anymore. Like, I'm sorry, but like,
Yes.
that's sad.
Yeah, you
We've got
just,
a couple more
but
comments in
nice.
the YouTube. Sorry guys, I've been slacking on the YouTube comments. Mike Cole says good morning. Pyro Devil says thanks, good. How are you? I'm doing well. Kyle
Set
Olson
up.
said, is it this person? Would love to see where I fit in on the tattoo family tree. I know a few people using fake pedigrees in this industry. I know a few people as well. And
Yeah,
it's
for
sad,
sure.
but you know
But
what? Once again, wish them the
that's
best of
for
luck.
them.
Yeah,
That's for them.
I'll be completely honest about my pedigree. A lot of what I've learned is self-taught. I've had some apprenticeships. I've gone through 2 of them. Unfortunately, one person passed away, so there's no real way to verify the second one. But I've got plenty of documentation and experience and people that are still around and kicking from the first one that are more than happy to vouch for me. Not just that, but through my own drive and through my own experience, it's like as much as I would like to have some kind of a pedigree, you know, and you start to see a lot of people that are out there nowadays that are very self-taught, that didn't really have any kind of like a professional upbringing in it, that, had to have their own drive to go out there and learn on their own.
I had to do that for a long time.
Exactly.
Yeah. But you know what, though? You can't be mad at that stuff. Like somebody said this to me a long time ago when I used to, I think I was maybe, and I was kind of like bent because there was a mall in Wilmington, Delaware, Tri-State Mall that was, or it was Christiana Mall. One of them was like selling tattoo equipment at like basically like a kiosk, and like piercing equipment and stuff like that. And I was all mad about that, kind of salty. And these people that were, I was like, oh, it became popular to just order your equipment online and then just start doing it, and I start thinking about back like how I got into it, how like lucky and fortunate I was to, just no shop was really willing to take me to have experience like that until this couple of bikers that were opening up a shop in Delaware, saw that I had some sort of artistic ability and they were willing to kind of like show me the ropes. But they taught me, and I look back and I kind of think about it like this now. Tattooing is really a trade, like you had mentioned, Jason. It is a trade. You can teach many different people how to tattoo. Now, what they do with that information is completely up to them. But the mechanics of it are just about anybody with 2 hands can do a tattoo. Whether or not it's good or not is a whole other subject. But it is a trade. And the thing to remember is that everybody finds their own way. Don't be mad at somebody because they took a chance on themselves and because they had friends that were willing to sacrifice a little bit of their own skin to help a buddy out. Because you never know what's going to come out of that effort. Nobody just sits down and does it, paints an immaculate painting, or nobody buys a $6,000 Fender and just writes an amazing song right out of the gate. That's not how that works. You find your way. You just kind of figure it out on your own. And instead of being mad at those people, offer to help. Especially when you see effort being put into it. When they're really trying hard, really putting forth a lot and dedicating their time and their effort to something that you've loved for a long time, being this business.
Absolutely.
Because the more people we have in it that have that type of an approach, the more valuable this industry becomes to us. You have, like I was saying earlier, you have other people out there putting out that positive energy, and their clients are going to experience it, and the word's just going to keep going.
Now, I do have you know, something to say on that. You know, I do believe that, you know, understanding some of the more advanced stuff, understanding some of the more advanced like application techniques, things of that nature, I do believe that, you know, it's not something you're necessarily going to find on YouTube. It's something that you do need to kind of go through and experience it. And I've always been a huge advocate of the fact that, you know, if you want to really understand and you really want to know how to tattoo on that kind of a top level, you have to go out and experience it. You have to go out and get tattooed, learn from
100%.
these guys that have been absolutely crushing it. You want to draw, you know, Japanese style dragons like Bill Canales, go get tattooed by Bill. Sit down with him,
Yep.
watch him as he sketches it, ask him questions the
Yep.
whole time. You want to learn how to tattoo like Fibs, go get tattooed by Fibs. You want to learn how to tattoo like Bob Tyrell or Shane O'Neill or any number of other absolutely incredible photorealism black and gray guys. Save your money, go get tattooed by them. Ask them every
100%.
question you can think of every time. You know, I'm also an advocate of the fact that I'm a firm believer that some of this knowledge is earned. You know, it's not necessarily given
Definitely.
away for free. You know, if you've got the passion for it, that's great. You know, absolutely, you know, I'll do what I can for you. But it's, you know, everything comes at a cost. You know, if you're going to ask me for knowledge, if you're going to ask me for experience on technique and, you know, why do I use what I use? And, you know, what about color theory and all this other stuff? I can help you out a little bit, but show me what you've done so far. Don't just come to me and
Yes.
say, I want you to teach me how to tattoo. It's like,
Right.
how about you show me what effort you've put in so far?
Yeah.
You know,
That's what
and
that
then
goes
we
back
can
to, like
take it
seeing
from there.
somebody put the effort in. When you see
Right.
somebody like putting that effort in, and they are getting tattooed by these people, you know, like that's like what exactly what you just said is what more people need to hear. You know what I mean? Like everybody finds their own way, but you got to put in the effort to get there. You know, like you can't just expect for things to just come easily to you. And that's where I started having a little bit of an issue with things. Like I was like, well, they're just making brushes for all of this stuff. Now I had to learn how to draw. I had to fill an entire sketchbook with shitty waves until I learned how to draw waves in a way that works for, you know, a good tattoo. And
Oh, I still
now
do
they
that
just,
all
now they
day
just
long.
use it. Now they just use a stamp and boom, and there you go. And there's your wave because I've learned the trade of tattooing. I'm a tracer or whatever. But I see the value in it as an educational tool as well. That doesn't negate going out and getting tattooed by these people because anything that you get digitally will not even hold a candle to the type of knowledge you can get by sitting down with these other people and getting tattooed by them. You know, watching them lay something out on your arm or in marker, watch them draw something in paper, or going to a convention, traveling around and taking the time and effort to put yourself in the same environment as these artists that you look up to. And, you know, using that as a valuable educational, you know, instead of just like really put yourself into it. So I couldn't agree more. Getting tattooed by these people is spending, you know, close intimate time with them is the best way to gain that knowledge because nobody's just going to give it to you.
Absolutely. And on that note, we have a VIP that just joined us. Would like to say a very big hello to Ricardo.
What's up, dude?
Ricardo has been
What up,
a
dude?
huge influence on me.
Oh, man.
And
How you doing, dude?
everything that I am doing. So
Well, thank you for the compliments. Likewise, Jason. I think I just caught the tail end of that. I'm doing pretty good, guys. How about you?
doing pretty well, man. Doing pretty well. I'm gearing up for another show. So,
Man, you're definitely killing it on that end, aren't you?
well, I mean, I'm actually cutting back on shows this year. So for me, it's kind of weird, to be honest with you. You know, just the whole concept of like, I've been so used to traveling so often, go, 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 just hustle, 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 that it's a little bit different. You know, I'm not opposed to it, but it's definitely taking some adjustments. But it's nice to be able to take that step back, reevaluate some things, take a look at things from a little bit of a different perspective, and then turn back around and say, okay, I'm ready. What's next?
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of what I've started doing with a lot of things.
Right.
So, but it's weird, man. I'm so used to being like, okay, cool. What's the next show I'm going to? What's the next event? What's happening after this? And yeah, it's weird for me, man. It's really, really weird.
Huh. Not go, go, go anymore, huh?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's nice. It's a nice little change of pace. You know, it's helping me, you know, just go back through and think about things a little bit differently. You know, it's also helping me save a little bit of money so that, you know, if next year rolls around and things end up taking a different turn, I'm financially ready to be like, cool, I'm on the road. I'm on the road. I'm on the road. You know, and I'm not saying that that's necessarily going to happen, but, you know, it's definitely helping me financially prep a little bit better. So,
Yeah. That's radical, dude.
yeah, but I've got one more show coming up this year, and that's the one I'm working in Allentown at the Skin Industry Expo. Very small show. I think there's 125 artists there this year, or 126, some even number. But it's going to be a great time. My friend Dennis is coming down from upstate New York. Going to be working right next to my friend Ian. Ian does the most clean and bold traditional work I've ever seen. So I'm very excited to be working next to him this year. He's also like one of my best friends out there who does tattoos. So it's always good to stop by and see him. I actually just got done running some prints for him the other day, and they are pretty wicked. So it's going to be, you know, they're super, super traditional in nature, which isn't necessary. It's always something I've kind of struggled with, to be honest with everyone. Like traditional work for me is not easy. I
Me either.
overcomplicate and over accent everything. I'm like, but we can add more detail here. Why wouldn't we want to do that?
I feel the exact same way. I have such a huge problem doing traditional tattoos because I'm like, why wouldn't we do all of the things? Why not?
Exactly. I
But
want
not
to
everybody
do
wants
all
all
of
the
these
things.
things. Right.
No.
And some people prefer that more simplified, more like tailored down, more classic kind of style. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a personal preference.
Absolutely.
You know, I just like to overcomplicate things, as anyone that knows me in life knows.
When I first started drawing to tattoo, that was my biggest hurdle. Overcomplicating every drawing
Mm-hmm.
to a less tattooable image.
Absolutely. And you know what? It's not an easy thing to overcome. It really isn't. Understanding what information needs to be there in order to accurately depict what it is you're trying to depict, in comparison to throwing all of the information in there and then not having it be legible.
Yeah,
You know, it's a
exactly.
very fine line.
Yeah, a friend of mine that does a lot of like Americana stuff, man, he told me one time the same thing. He's like, when's the last time you tried to draw flat like that? I was like, I don't know. So we sat down and we started drawing. I was like, oh my God, this is a lot harder than what I thought it would be.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, we take so much time learning how to add dimension and depth and stuff like that, the way light, you know, references an object and stuff like that, and trying to study it, implement it into the right place, contour lines, all that stuff like that. But you eliminate all of that in order to like facilitate that style. So it does make it is tricky, and it is pretty cool to stay in practice for everything though. But I think it's one of those things that if you find an interest in it, there are some people that just can whip it out, crank it out no matter what it is. You know what I mean? Like can make it look good, not just make it happen, but make it look good too.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there's a very big difference. You know what I mean? There's a very huge difference between making a solid traditional tattoo and making it look good. And not only that, but like your voice kind of coming through with it too. Because I mean, it's really easy to take a bunch of different traditional tattoos and kind of glue them together, so to speak, you know?
Right.
Kind of Google photos, everything together.
Yeah. So for me, it's always fascinating to watch guys like that, with their whole artistic process and, how they'll break out one liner and one mag. They'll break out one shade of green, one shade of blue, one shade of yellow, and then like a big cap of black. And that's it. That's all they get. That's all they need. And they can execute an incredible tattoo just with such limited supplies,
Uh-huh. So can I show you guys a couple tattoos and maybe get some opinions on them that I've done recently?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Let me spotlight you.
Oh yeah.
Let me pull them up. Hold on one second. Let's see. So this is the more fresh one that we did. Let's see here. This is the most recent. I'm adding to this guy's like forearm tattoo.
Nice. Okay. Okay.
So that's the front of it, or like I guess it's the back of his forearm. And then these pictures aren't the greatest, so I apologize, but there's the other side of it.
Awesome.
Well, there's a video.
Okay.
Cool.
I love the way that you incorporated bold lines in there with a lot of very subtle shading
Thanks.
Mm,
and like
know,
that
if we-
real subtle texture in the wing in
Mhm.
contrast to like some of those really nice big bold lines in the rows.
Yeah.
Can I see
Glad to
that
see
again?
You want to see the video again?
Yeah, just the picture that you just had up there.
Okay. Let's see. I'll try to pull up let me just pull up the photo. So it's this
Yeah,
side. I think that's it right there. Is that the one?
Yeah, that one, and then the one that was from the front shows the other side there a little bit.
Let's see if I can get a non-bloody one. Hold on.
There you go. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. So I wanted to add more shading to this side of the cheek. Let's see this side. But with it being so fresh, you know what I mean? I wanted to be able to go back in if I had to, rather than go too dark as far as that framed part of the face.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
So what I would do is go like right above the bottom of the jawline there, right? You hit like a little bit more. Yeah, right above that, like to the inside of that line, you're gonna get do a reflected light from the rose, like up on the face. So it would be like a little bit of like a shadowed line, and have that fade up. And that'll help that bottom part of the jaw curve under more so it doesn't flatten out. Yeah.
Right.
And then think about bumping up the contrast on the far side of the face even more. Like you have the shadow on the other side of the nose is fantastic. Don't be afraid to make that darker and then make that whole side of the face darker in shadow. Yeah, because then your cheek on the other side, like you got this intense light on the one side. It almost looks shiny. Like it's really cool. But the other side of the face is just, I don't know that it's dark enough to accentuate what you have going on the front side there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Do it in Photoshop. Just keep everything the way that it is. And then take like a 30% gray or something and just kind of go over it and see how it looks when it's a little bit darker on that side.
Yeah. Here's a better photo. I actually put the little filter on my camera to get a better picture of it. Let me see if it's.
I got to get one of those filters, man. Those things are badass.
There's a little bit better.
Oh yeah. Wow. Look at the difference on that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that took all the shininess out of it, and it took all like the surrounding light out of it and stuff too. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
had a little bit more. That was the thing once I saw that. So here's the other side of his arm, and I know I need to get back in the rows a little bit more, especially around this part of the hand. But this is healed.
Oh, very
Oh
nice.
shit, that looked
Sick, dude.
awesome,
Beautiful.
dude.
Jesus Christ.
No, I think it's a
I
skull.
quit. I quit.
Yeah.
I'm out. I'm out.
That
I'm
looks
done.
awesome. I like those thorns coming up, man. It's badass. dude.
Ricardo just
But-
won the internet. That's beautiful.
So like, yo, check out the contrast in that, right? Like how insane that light is on the cheeks of the skull because of all
Yeah.
that solid around it and how much darker everything is. That's
Right.
like what I think you can pull out with that girl's face.
Right,
It's like
right,
that
right.
same thing, you know? Yeah, that is,
Yeah.
dude. Can you get a close up of the hand? There's fucking bones.
Yeah, that shit is
Come on,
crazy
dude.
looking.
Come on,
Dude.
it's so good.
It's so
Subtle,
sharp, man.
yeah. Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I want to put some dynamic, like dark, like shapes underneath some of those lips of the rose and stuff. You know what I mean?
I
Yeah,
think that
push
would
them
be
out a
my
little bit more.
only, that would be my only like critique to that portion of it.
Yeah.
Is that the hand, the skeleton hand and the rose seem to be on the same value plane.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it starts to get a little muddied. Like if you squint your eye.
Yeah. It looks like the same shape. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree with you completely. And that's the thing. Like I like the darkness underneath on the bottom of the hand. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
That separates that like the center of the rose and stuff like that. But I think it definitely needs a little bit more separation down towards the bulb part of the rose and stuff too.
So
Crazy.
my question for you would be, is the hand behind the rose or
It's-
is the
so it's
rose
gonna-
behind the hand?
Yeah, exactly. It should be like underneath it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's the portion. So that's the issue that I ran into it with it healed. But I really like the fact that like now, if I want to, I can go back into it.
Right.
Now that it's healed, you know what I mean? So here's
Because you
the
can always go darker, but you can never go lighter.
Did you do
Right.
all of those in one sitting? Both of those tattoos?
so I did the reaper and the rose and the hand and stuff like that and the thorns in one sitting, and then I did the second portion in one sitting too. Let's see. Here's another angle. I'll show you the other angle of it, and then I'll show you how they kind of merge together. So there's
Yeah, that's tough, man. Those bold thorns. That's a really cool design element, man. How'd you land on that?
you know what? I kept telling him, he said that he just wanted a reaper with a rose, but he wanted it kind of like a little bit darker. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you know, thinking it through and thinking about like that contrast, that negative space. And I've always fought with like, where do the blacks go and everything like that. So I was trying to think about how to make the blacks darker looking. And I've, you know, paying attention to all the classes with Guy and stuff like that, and talking with Jason and stuff like that about like negative space being an important factor in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I figured that halo kind of effect around those like just straight blacks with the thorn versus like the different values, the tonal values of the background and stuff like that, it makes it just jump out that much more, you know?
That's really cool, man. I like when you kind of like land on stuff like that through the process. Like, you know, you're thinking about how to make it look different or whatever, and then you just kind of like boldly going for something like that, and it really works. It
Yeah.
really does. It's really cool.
It's one of the things, isn't it? It's like, it's so scary to kind of think, okay, once I put this black, there's no going back to it. You know what I mean? Like there's no going back from this foundational kind of straight pigment kind of effect. You know what I mean? So I've always struggled with that. And this time around, I was really trying to approach it with, where do I want them first and foremost, you know? And the elements that he wanted included in it, like how to incorporate the elements that we were wanting in the image and stuff like that, you know what I mean? And then frame it out too. So here's the two pieces kind of merged together.
Oh shit!
Nice.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't realize they were on the same arm.
Right.
Okay.
Wow. Okay, that looks cool, man.
Yeah.
Transitions really nicely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That's fun.
that's the only critique I really got, man, is just on that one side of her face. Like, make that hair that she has coming down create a heavier shadow on that side. Yeah, but that's really nice layout. It's cool.
Thank you. Okay, here's a couple more. Is that okay with you guys?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Totally.
I got another black and gray, and then I got a color one to show you real quick. So some of this is healed, and you can tell what part of it's healed and what part of it's fresh. But
Woo! Look at that.
Wow.
Whoa.
So readable.
Mm.
You know, it doesn't help that this kid's half of his half sleeve, like what is it, 3/4 of his half sleeve. You could lay this out flat on a piece of paper, and it's like almost my whole upper back.
Yeah,
So
the kid looks like he's got massive triceps.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's a big kid. You know, he's a big dude, and like I was really excited to work with such a large space, and like it was one of the things that we talked about in the consult is that he wanted the full body, and I was like, you know, that'd be great, but like with the size of your arm, man, we can really play with some stuff where it's like, let's check this out from the moon. You know what I mean? Like let's be able to see that it's an angel from when you're sitting on the top of the moon.
Yeah.
Here's the other side of it.
Yeah, dude, that cup on the wing,
Oh,
the way
dude.
it kind of curls over, that shadow.
Wow.
That's perfect.
Nailed it, homie.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And you've got that perfect directional line between the edge, the
Shadow
top
coming
contour of
across
the
the back.
wing and the hand coming down.
Right. Intersecting angles.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, so we're gonna do some cherry blossoms and stuff like that towards the bottom. And
Nice.
cut them off. Yeah, so that'll be really nice. And I think he at first just wanted the cherry blossoms itself, but I might integrate some of the branch and stuff like that kind of coming in and out of play. That way we can add that element of like saturated black to it too, you know. And
So
then here,
the same approach that you took with that Reaper, where you like went bold with those with the thorns there, do that with the hand on that angel.
okay,
Make that outline thicker. Like, you know, I would go with like a loose 9 or even like an 11, and then taper that back to the hand. Make it really come forward, because it's everything about that is so dynamic that it's
yeah,
something I learned in recent times is, you know, you would think that like using a thick graphic line like that would like flatten something out. But sometimes when you have that much dynamic shading going on, a bold outline just helps force that, you know, that type of realism, that perspective in the tattoo.
I think you're right, man. I think that would help like jump it out even more, because like you can tell that
Yeah.
the hand is already in the foreground and stuff like that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So I
Yeah.
think especially once we start getting those like real finessed kind of like cherry blossoms and stuff in there, I think that'll help out a lot, like hover it even more.
Yeah, hell yeah, man.
You're
Super
right.
dope. Great job.
Thanks. And then here's the one last. This is a pretty fun color piece that I just did on a buddy of mine that I've tattooed quite a bit.
Oh, dude.
That is awesome.
Nailed it.
Dude. You crushed that one, man.
Looks like we got ourselves a Bill Shakespeare.
Yep. Well, Lottie freaking da.
I just watched that sketch the other day.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's great. That's really good.
I
I
love
heard
it.
David Spade talking about that when they were doing that sketch, and like him and Adam Sandler, like nobody could keep a straight face. Like they knew when they were practicing it that he was going to be like kind of over the top, but they were like, he really, they weren't expecting him to go as far as what he did with it.
Yeah, man, he took it. Dude, that is one of the hands down one of the best SNL skits I've ever seen, for sure.
It's so funny, man. That's awesome though. Good job.
Thank you. Yeah, like I went really oversaturated. You know what I mean? Like I took any color that I wanted to do and just went like way more intense than I would have normally in the past. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
because it's illustrative, but it's still realistic. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
yeah, you nailed that.
I thank you so much, man. I appreciate that so much. And I keep thinking about that, like as far as longevity of the tattoo goes too. You know what I mean? Like I keep thinking, like I still like to gradiate things, like do some smooth transitions as far as gradations like that go, like peppering things into each other and stuff. But I'm starting to find the more and more I see tattoos coming back over the years, the more I'm realizing how much more effective the tattoo would be as far as aging well. With much more simple shapes. You know what I mean?
Absolutely,
like,
man.
Breaking it down to simple, solid, like application as far as like the saturation level and stuff like that too.
Yeah. If you can get the information across using like 3 values or 3 hues, I mean, do it. You know, because like you said, it's definitely going to stand out more and last longer. I see a lot of the stuff that I've done in the past where it comes back and I'm like, it's just all those like subtle value shifts and things that I put in there just don't hold up, and it kind of flattens out a little bit. And then, so, you know, what's that old saying? You apply it to other things, but you can use it for tattooing is fortune favors the bold. right?
Yep.
Just fucking go for it. You know, like you
Yeah.
chose to use those colors and you were very deliberate in putting them in there. You weren't feathering them. You just fucking pounded them in there and they look great, you know?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I'm still like, as far as the application goes, I'm still like even with the saturation, you know what I mean? But like just
Yeah.
focusing on just that one tone, like you guys were
Yeah.
talking about a little bit ago, is adding like just breaking it, like you just said, breaking it down to some simple, almost straight out of the bottle, you know what I mean? Almost straight out of the ink bottle value, like the intensity level of it and everything, and then just going for it.
Yeah.
Dude, one of the funnest parts about this tattoo is like all the flannel stuff though.
The plaid stuff. Yeah.
That stuff was super fun. Like it's so crazy, like when you go in on it, how simple it is. You
Yeah.
know,
It reads so well.
but then you
Yeah.
come back out and it starts to like really settle in. You know what I mean? Like makes more sense.
Yeah. The fade on the bottom's good too. Nice irregular border.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're gonna add some lettering and stuff like that around it. So I wanted to keep it kind of loose for that purpose. You know what I mean?
What's
So
it gonna say?
we're gonna do Lottie freaking da.
Lottie freaking da.
Yeah. So
Amazing.
yeah, and he only had a certain amount of space to kind of put it in. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Fit it right in there.
Right.
No,
Here's
I learned. You got another one?
Yeah, I got one more. This
Yeah,
one,
that's it.
I stumbled upon this one. I was like going through some of my old photos, and this one isn't finished yet. And the kid kind of dipped out on me, and the picture quality is poor. But
Yes.
Oh, dude.
How'd you get a
I
picture of
love
my
that
house?
one.
this, I took the picture
Oh,
right when we did it. This is all one sitting.
That
let me
looks
see if-
great, man. That lace
That
is
is
very
rad.
delicate.
Thank you. Let me get the other photo of the other side here. Let me see if I can.
See, again, it goes back to like what we were saying just a little bit ago. Like that solid black lace against a very light, almost like just very, very mild value in
Yeah.
the dress. It just like you can see that so clearly, and it makes the breast stand out more. And you got a nice hard shadow behind her. That
Yeah.
looks great.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. It's weird, like you kind of go back to some of the old photos where you're like, I could have done a little bit better. You know what I mean? And you look at it, and you're like, it's not so bad, I guess.
No, but again, what did we say weeks ago, right? Like it seems to be a recurring topic on this is, if don't ever think that you're done with something. Like you can always improve, and if you're constantly looking for that, then every time you lay a tattoo in, it's going to be the best that you can do. You know what I mean? If you go into it thinking like, this is going to be a cakewalk, you know how nervous I get doing portraits and shit still?
Oh yeah, dude.
Bug me
every
out.
time.
Yeah, I'm laying out a
Yeah.
Japanese sleeve. It takes me 2 hours to put the stencil on. I'm sweating it the whole time.
Yep.
And then after every one, I'm always like, I could have changed this. I could have changed that. Don't ever stop thinking that.
Yep. I got you, dude. Thank you. Yeah, I feel the same way too, man. Like it's crazy because like sometimes people come in and I tell them for the bigger pieces, it's like, dude, this is gonna take a while. Like just getting prepped for it and stuff like that. It's gonna take a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Here's some filler I did on this girl's arm. Let me see if I can find a better photo. Hold on one second. Shoot. Well, first of all,
Ricardo, where are you from, bud?
Illinois.
Nice.
Yeah, Bloomington, Illinois. So here's a healed piece I did on her a while back.
Yeah, look at that.
Oh,
Oof.
that's phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Negative, positive bat shapes. And that's that color in the background. It looks fantastic.
Yeah, dude. Great use of warm and cool contrast. I mean, hell
They're
yeah.
popping
dude.
out in front too. Just
Yeah.
fucking great.
That one's about-
Babushka.
Yeah, exactly. And it's cool because it's like got the TV one and then the movie one, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, a little bit of the mix.
yep. And then here's some of the filler stuff we did on the back of her arm. Let's see here. It's still kind of red, and I didn't have the filter to take the photo of it, but
Oh,
That looks
love
great.
that. Dude.
Oh, love what's coming out of the eye there. Dude, that's cool.
Wow.
The mandible shading. Look at that. Or is that what do you call it? Maxilla?
Yeah, that's the maxilla.
Yeah, crazy.
Love that texture
cool.
in there, man.
Of all the shapes
good.
defining the skull.
I'm so glad
They're
you're
just
in
like
Illinois
all
and not
over
in
the
New Jersey.
place, dude.
That's really
love
fun,
it.
man. Super creative.
There's like so much motion just like through the bottom of the skull on that top one in the mouth.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like there's so much fucking motion right there, but it just draws your eye in.
Dude,
Yeah.
excellent positive negative relationships there.
Yeah.
Dude, that's a home run, bro.
Thank you.
You
Yeah,
know,
thank
like,
you.
so those lines that go down, like wrapping into the teeth, like the way you taper them off on the top one, yeah, they're going into the teeth holes, like they're fatter than it's just amazing how that subtle little thing describes the form so well.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's cool, man.
Thank you,
Hell
man. I
yeah,
appreciate it.
dude.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so I've been staying pretty busy, so I wanted to apologize for not being able to jump in so much, but I've been doing a lot of work lately.
Yeah,
just
it shows.
Getting back to the grindstone, you know what I mean?
Hell yeah, bro.
Here's one more. Show you guys one more. So here's let me see if I can get a frontal view of it. So there's
Whoa.
Nice.
Damn.
All right, Bob Terrell.
There you go.
I see you.
yeah, Bob
That's
Tyrell.
cool, man.
Yeah, this
Really
one.
great contrast.
Thank you.
Yes.
So that's all one sitting. She couldn't take any more.
Oh, that's on a thigh too, huh?
Yeah. Yep. You got it.
Woo.
Really big.
Oof.
Yeah, that could be a
Awesome.
spicy place to get tattooed.
Yes,
Yeah.
it can.
It's like her second tattoo too. You know what I mean? It's on a buddy of mine. It's his girlfriend, and she's like, I want this tattoo, and she's like, I want it from my knee to my hip. I was like, okay, we're gonna go for it. Like, we're gonna do this. And he's actually the one that I took. Heath, Jason, you met Heath.
Yes, I did.
He's actually the one that got tattooed by me and Guy both at one time, and it's his girlfriend. So he was like, okay, you just wait. But so we stenciled like her face and that little cross on there, but then drew the rest of it on. You know what I mean?
Nice.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Thank you. And then when it comes to portraits and stuff like that, you know what I mean? I'm really trying to implement more of like that traditional kind of thought of like line work, but using it as edges. Because Jason and I had a conversation about some of the things that I feel like I miss in my work is, you know what I mean? Instead of shading away and leaving negative space between line and value.
Yeah.
I'm trying to implement the idea of where I would use line work to make a sharper edge. You know what I mean? And disappear the line enough to where it appears as the contrast of the value rather than using that throughout the entire tattoo. So implementing the idea of having some line work still as edges, you know what I mean, but softer lines maybe, a little bit more dissipated. So it's been pretty fun, and I've been really trying to like approach each drawing for each tattoo with like a few sets of rules, like as far as like the system of the values and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So I think it's been paying off a little bit more lately.
I would
agree.
say.
It looks great.
Well, thank you.
You've been
I started
crushing
over
it,
the
man.
last year. I started using when approaching a portrait, taking a little bit of a different approach than I have in the past, where I'm using I use like dynamic triple black, but whatever solid black that you end up using that for as much of the shading as I can, and allowing my wrist control to determine how light or dark something is, you know, in the skin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, you know, just kind of scooching along the edge of the surface, because what happens is, you were talking about like when it heals, the value of things kind of blending together. I used to set up like, you know, and I still do, like I'll set up like 6 cups, but there was a point in time where I had like 10 different cups of black, and then I had my solid black. Ever since I started seeing some of these other pieces come back healed with me using solid black first to try and lay in as much of the value, I find that when I move on to using the softer values, the lighter values, they stand out. They just the transitions are just as smooth without me needing to use 3 or 4 different value changes throughout it. You know, I'm using solid black and then laying up a little bit, still using solid black, just kind of feathering it in, laying up a little bit more, and then move into the cut values.
Exactly. I've been finding that really effective as well, man. And like you mentioned the word feathering, and I think that's definitely it. You know what I mean? I've opened up my movement quite a bit more, where it's almost like a scraping kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I hate to use that term scraping, but it's almost like you're just hitting
Yeah,
the
you're
surface.
just feathering it in. Yep, just rip,
Yeah.
rip, rip. Yep,
Yep.
totally.
And a buddy
Fuck,
of mine,
man, you
I
guys
was,
make me want to go to the shop and tattoo right now. I'm still in Connecticut on the road.
damn, yeah, man, it's fun. My buddy that sits next to me at the shop that I work in, he was like saying, man, when I was working on that big wing on that guy's Black and Gray Angel, man, he was like, I could hear that thing scraping from over here. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, but sometimes that's what you need to do, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's really the only way to go through and create that kind of an effect.
Yeah. But it
Awesome.
looks
Good
great.
stuff, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much.
No doubt.
So yeah, that's been about it. Drawing and taking care of, technical business stuff for the past couple
Nice.
weeks and everything. And you know how that goes. That's always fun for an artist to do, to sit down with a bunch of numbers and try to calculate things. It's always great.
Yeah. Tax season, right? It's great.
Yep. You got it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I just got
Well,
done submitting and updating my QuickBooks for my accountant the other day. And I felt so relieved when I sent him the message, and I'm like, dude, my 2022 QuickBooks is completely up to date. Everything's good to go. Like, feel free to start the taxes. Feel free to start the process. Let's get going on this, because I have him linked into my QuickBooks so he can go through and take a look at everything that I have categorized, all of my expenses through Venmo, PayPal, my credit card, and my checking account. He can go through and kind of see everything that I do, and where all of my expenses are going. So he can go through, pull that information, and more or less turn around and say, oh, well, you increased your spending on your studio supplies this year. And oh, okay, here's all of your tattoo convention payments for booths and hotels, your travel airfare. Here's where all of this stuff is. And that means we can go through and we can use this as a write-off. This is a write-off. This is a write-off because you were traveling for that. This is a write-off for this. So it just makes the job a lot easier for him, rather than taking a day, getting together with him, sitting down with him and saying, hey, what did you, how much money did you spend on supplies this year? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, let me pull up some invoices.
Yeah.
About this much, right?
Yeah.
So it just makes things way easier for him in general. But I was so relieved when I sent him that text.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, it's all you now. Like, get to it, go do the things. Let me know if you need anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always a relief, man. That's for sure.
So I actually have 2 tattoos that I would like to show as well. These are
Absolutely.
both
Yeah.
still kind of healing, but they're like nearing the end. They're both right next to each other. But I got to do the scary lady, or scary stories to tell in the dark lady.
Damn, dude. Back of the knee? Or is that
On the
elbow
side.
bitch?
That's on the
knee.
side of the knee.
Oof.
Yeah. It's rough. How hard was it tattooing that area for you?
It wasn't that hard to tattoo. It's just extremely painful.
Yeah. Is that
The delicate hairs look
healed?
great.
Yeah.
Thank you. I used a lot of single liner for a majority of it. It just wanted to blow out like all the fucking time. It felt like it was just so fucking so fragile right there. She has really tight, sensitive skin in the first place on her legs, and right there was no exception, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's the thing with like really bendy areas of the body like that. You know what I mean? It wants to like just flush that ink into everywhere around it.
Yeah.
And then with the single needle too, man, those single needles, they want to take off on you, dude. They want to like race ahead of you. You know what I mean? Or behind you, or to the left or right of you sometimes even.
Yeah. And I'm becoming more fond of them though.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah, I
I
will
got
say.
to use.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you
No, I was
can
gonna
go ahead.
say with single needles, I've noticed that like the whip shading kind of thing, and the control of the value helps out a lot, because like if you're kind of peppering things in there with it, once it heals, it's gonna kind of blend together a little bit more. So like as far as trying to use a single needle to pack ink in, you might as well just be using a mag if that's the case. You know what I mean? So like if you're gonna be using a single needle to shade, I always try to do it like with just the pepper shading, and then using different values and stuff like that as far as your diluted inks. You know what I mean?
So far, I haven't really tried like using it for shading at all. I've used it to like in the teeth, I like feathered in a little bit with the gray wash, but I try and keep it with like using the mag as much as I can. I feel like it just works better for me personally.
Can you blow that up a little bit more?
Yeah.
Why not? It's my own curiosity because I've only ever tried a single needle once, and I found that like a bug pin 3, it just seems safe, like a safer bet. Is there any reason? Have you ever tried like a super tight bug pin 3?
Yeah. I was using those before, but I got a box of single liners because I was like, I want to give these a try and just see how they go.
Yeah, what was that like, man? Like it just seems like when I used them, I felt like it was just like I was just cutting them open. I couldn't, and I was delicate as I could be. I was watering down I tried, not using just straight lining black. I tried to, dilute it just a little bit. And I had zero luck using them.
Yeah, I have a FK Irons EXO, and I put it down at like, I use a 2.5 when I'm using the single liners because I'm trying to scale it back as much as I can, and I'll run it down at like 6 volts. And then I'll just take my time, just get it in there little by little. I usually like pulling big lines, but with those guys, I feel like you have to be a little bit more careful for sure.
Okay.
You're using the 2.5 millimeter stroke?
Yeah, I got the 2.5, I got the 3.2 and the 4.0. So I like switching between all those depending on what I'm trying to do.
Man, I am so out of it with all that tech stuff, man. I'm
me
really
too.
doing myself a disservice, I feel like, but
So I come from a tech background. So when I got into this, it was just kind of like second nature to be like, well, is there an easier, better option than coils? Because I've only been tattooing for 2 years now.
Oh, okay.
So I'm still very, very new to this. I've been a part of the culture for fucking ever, but I was just like, is there a better way to do this? Because I felt like a lot of times that I got tattooed by people using coils, it just fucking hurt more unnecessarily,
Yeah.
But I mean, that could be different from person to person as well. So I was like, I'm going to try this. And once I tried the really cheap wireless machines, I was like, I want to try a really nice one. And then I got the first like 3.2 EXO, and I was like, oh, there is a night and day difference between this. So I'm going to get some more of these.
So I've got the 4 millimeter EXO, but lately I've just been using my my 3.5 Cheyenne, which is like equivalent to the 3.2 EXO.
Okay.
And dude, I've been using that for like everything.
Me too.
Like,
Yeah, it's a
big
great
bold
middle of the ground
lines.
shit.
Ricardo picked one up. He was using the 4 millimeter flux for a while. And he picked up the 3.5 Cheyenne, man. It's a lot more gentle on the skin. I don't necessarily, so my personal opinion, I'm not a huge fan of ultra short strokes on machines. I will use them occasionally if I absolutely have to, but I find that it just doesn't have the impact that I'm looking for. As far as like control and then strength. So I typically, if I need a more gentle machine, I'll just use the 3.5. Otherwise I use like the 4 millimeter EXO for just about anything bigger. Like if I'm pushing 15 mag color, 19 mag color, whatever, I'm using a 4 millimeter. Like it's going to have the impact. It's going to have the downward force I need. And it's going to have the ability to go through and just punch it in real quick. If I'm doing super large fields of soft black and gray, like big ISO bars, large areas of like shading, like say I'm shading in an American flag upper arm half sleeve, right? And I just want to layer down and just do a very quick pass over an area to tone it down a little bit more. I'll break out the 4 millimeter EXO and I'll crank that up a bit faster, very shallow needle depth because you don't have to go that far. And I'll just do a
Yeah.
very quick pass with it just to saturate that skin and tone down a bigger area. Otherwise, dude, I've been using the 3.5 for like everything, man.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Super, super ultra tight bug pin 3s are a breeze with it.
Yeah.
You know, but once again, I try not to line with a short stroke just because I'm not a big fan of it. I don't think it's really got the impact that I
can
want my
totally see
lines to
that.
have.
I pretty much,
With a single though, you don't need a long stroke.
Mm-mm.
And
No.
especially if you're working right off the tip of the cartridge, it's not really going to matter all that much. But if you're trying to float the needle tip and work straight off the pins at a more perpendicular angle with a bit more needle hang, that's where it's kind of like, that's where I didn't like using singles, just because they tend to walk a little bit, you know,
Yeah.
and it's not
Yeah.
like a perfectly solid straight laser line.
yeah.
And part of that just has to do with the way that cartridges are stabilized. Sometimes I find that using coils with singles keeps them a little bit more stable because you have a lot of that rubber band tension holding that thing back to the back of the tip of the tube that you're using. So you can actually go through and control it a little bit better. Otherwise, I try to use like a bug pin 3 or type bug pin 3 because I find that they're just a little bit more stable. Don't ask me why. I have no idea. I just find that they do have a little bit more stability to them. So I've been using a lot of those, but once again, I like a little bit of a longer stroke, even when I'm using those. So the shortest I'll ever go is like a 3.5, just because I know it's got the impact I like, and I know it's got the feel that I like and the speed that I like. So I'll just take it super, super slow. And just like really focus. Sometimes you got to like get super close on it and like kind of squint to see the line that you're making with a single or even a super tight bug pin 3. So, I mean, that's just my experience, but typically I'm sticking to like a 3.5 the whole time. I mean, to me, it's got the impact. It's got less skin trauma that you're creating. So your skin's going to settle down a little bit more. It's not going to be quite as red as you go to transition. You're going to start to see things kind of taking on their true tone, their true value, and the skin's not going to be quite as pissed off. So that's just kind of like my own experience. I started to notice a difference when I went from the Injecta, which was 3.25, to the EXO when I got that, which was 4. And I was like, why are all of the pictures that I'm taking of all of these fresh tattoos so red? Why is the skin so pissed off? When if I did the same tattoo with my Injecta at 3.25, it was fine. Like, what is the deal here? Then when I picked up the Cheyenne, my Cheyenne Unlimited, it kind of, and I started using that for everything, it kind of clicked and it was like, oh, well, it's not causing quite as much trauma to the skin. So the skin's calming down a little bit quicker so I can get more of a true tone out of it so that way I can go back into it if I need to and I can get better pictures out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like, that's just mentally where I'm coming from. I pulled up a picture of the Scary Stories lady that you just did the tattoo of. Take a look at if you're looking at the picture on the left side cheek, I think you could use a little bit more contrast there, a little bit more value.
Okay.
The same thing with like the chin area. Really look at like the bottom of the lip and the top of the curve, the top of the dome of the chin. Could use a little bit more contrast in that area.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all I was really going to suggest too. Is that like I think you just need some more value in some of those interior spaces, like between the eyes and the mouth, like especially around like the nose area. Like the nose kind of disappears at this point. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah,
So
I can totally see that. I can totally see that. It was something where this is probably like the second time I've tried to do anything that's even portrait-esque. So I was like, I want to go in really, light and then just build it up.
Absolutely, because that's the best part.
Great.
Yeah, the best part is you can always get back into it. You know what I mean? Like it's better to go into it with the approach of we're gonna go kind of soft with this one. You know, you want to let them know that you're gonna build it up. Probably more than likely, you'll build it up a little bit more after the first session and stuff like that. But you want to see, and I always tell them it's better to go lighter than it is darker, because once we put it on, there's no going back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this was actually, I think, 4 sessions because she could only handle so much at a time. But
Yeah.
I live with her, so she's an easy client to get a hold of.
There you
Oh,
go.
there you go.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. You're like, I always told people that I would tattoo that I know like that. I would always be like, well, you know, I get to see it every day, so I need to make sure that this is exactly the way we want it.
Okay, so I'm not
Yes.
the only one that thinks that way. I was having this discussion with my significant other a couple weeks ago. And I was like, you know, listen, like, I'll tattoo you. You need to know, and you need to understand that I'm going to want to go back into this tattoo at least one more time, because I'm looking at it every day. I'm critiquing it every day. What could I have done better? What didn't
Yep.
turn out the way that I wanted to? And you don't get that when you tattoo, you know, people that come in for standard appointments. You don't have to see it every single day,
No,
you know? So it gives you a little bit of that separation. So the next time they come in, maybe you get a chance to like take a quick glance at it and be like, oh, okay, so, you know, let me adjust this a little bit, or, you know, maybe if we have time, we'll go back into this area. But like when you're seeing a tattoo every day, man, you start to
It
nitpick
changes.
certain tiny little things, and you're just like, oh, just let me just get this one tiny little spot over here, just a little, you know, so, and it drives you nuts, you know?
Yep.
My girlfriend sits like a champ though, so I can't really complain. We spent 5 hours tattooing her throat, and it turned out like, as it healed down, it's like, mwah, like everywhere that counts. But still, man, I look at it every day and I'm just like, maybe I could have done a little bit more. You know, that
I
doesn't
mean, that's
stand
always
out
wanting
quite
to
as
improve, though,
much.
right?
Probably should have done that a little bit darker. And I remember staring at her the other day, and I was just like, tilt your head up a little bit. Let me get in on that a little bit more, and really. And she's like, God, you're still looking at this thing? I'm like, yeah, I've
done.
warned you
I will
about this.
always be looking at it.
You're done. Yeah.
You know, but she's an absolute champ, and 100% trooper, and by far one of the best clients I've ever had. So,
Don't
So I
forget your
have-
significant other.
and I'm
I
not
have-
just saying that because she's within listening distance.
So I have one more that you'll be able to see the lady
Yep, let me spotlight
right
you.
next to it, basically. And this is on the back of the knee going into the ditch.
Yep.
Can you zoom in a little bit more?
What part?
Just the,
'Cause I-
that tattoo itself. If you can zoom in just a little bit more, maybe put it closer to the camera or something.
Yeah, I think the glare is fucking
There
with
you
it
go.
too, because me looking at the screen, it's like losing a bunch of the blues that are in the jacket.
Yeah. So it's not very big, right?
It's pretty damn big. It's probably it's bigger than my hand. That's for sure.
Can you hold that up
Like-
one more time, please?
And bring it
If you
closer.
look at it like that, you can see the back of her leg right there.
Yeah. Now move it closer to the camera. There you go.
There you
Okay. Okay, so you got it, the drape or his cloak kind of cusping the bottom of the horse and stuff.
Yeah, I like framing things out so they can end up standing on their own as much as they can.
I
What are you
think
using to color that? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Prado.
I was gonna say, I think right away the first thing I see is like the bottom portion of it. It all looks like with the hand on mine and the rose, like they're kind of falling into the same field. You know what I mean? Like kind of falling in the same plane. So I think if there is a little bit
Like-
more,
Down there at the bottom on the cloak and shit.
yeah, it's the first place my eye goes is because it's such a dark shape down there. You know what I mean? I think I would have separated that cloak a little bit more with some more negative space against that darkness of the bottom of the belly on the horse and stuff too. What do you guys think? And then maybe just a little bit more like simple shapes where the muscle tone, where the muscle tone for the horse would be, you know, because it looks kind of rounded. Everything looks kind of rounded. I think I'd focus a little bit more on some of the angles of the muscle tone when you're using those
Okay.
like lighter shades and stuff like that too.
First place my eye goes is to that very vibrant red spot
Yeah.
down right. I think that's the saddle, correct?
Yeah, it's the little
Yeah.
blanket underneath them, and the contrast is crazy on the screen compared to me looking at my phone.
Yeah,
Right,
it always
right.
is. Right.
So that's immediately where my eye goes, for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's the most intense color there. It's the most vibrant, and it's the only place where that red occurs. So in
Okay.
order to balance that out, or maybe you could have toned it down by adding in like maybe doing a darker red or something a bit more muted down. That would have allowed the yellow and the blue in the coat to come forward a little bit more, to be a little bit
Yeah.
more intense. And it would have really helped that orange stand out a little bit more.
I mean, I could go back in and throw a little bit darker red in there as well. That's a great point too.
Yeah. I'm also noticing that there's not really too much black shading in that spot, which is part of the reason why I think that red is so vibrant. But
Okay.
you've got a bit of dark shading in the pumpkin itself. Personal opinion, I think if you had gone through and left the dark shading out of the pumpkin, but put it into that saddle area, it would have helped the absolute vibrance of that pumpkin really jump forward a bit more. But it all
Okay.
depends on where you want people to look, right? If you want the emphasis to be on the pumpkin, on the lantern, and the head of the headless horseman itself, make that the most vibrant, brightest area. You know, if you want people to look at, say you threw some bright red in the eyes of the horse, right? And that's where you wanted people to look, was at the head of the horse, and have the headless horseman second. I would have made that, you know, obviously a bit bigger, which it is, but I would have put a lot more detail and a lot more value into that. So you can move the viewer's eye around an area based on intensity of color, where your black and gray shading is, where color is, because you've got a lot of black and gray there. So immediately your eye is going to be drawn to colorful areas. So you can really kind of tell people where to look at a piece just by the intensity of the color, right? If you want it to be more subdued, like, oh, I don't want people to look there, cool. Use a muted tone, use a muted red, use a muted blue. Maybe keep the yellows and oranges more vibrant. If you want people to look at the horse more, you know, keep all of the colors muted with a bit more black and gray shading, and then keep the horse itself as a bit more of a lighter tone and a lighter value. That could help bring that forward a little bit more. That's just kind of like immediately where my eye goes and what I'm seeing from it. But that's, once again, that's my 2 cents, and my opinion. So,
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And I appreciate any of the constructive criticism that I can get from you guys.
I
Yeah.
think that I definitely agree with the red standing out, just like a little bit of shading over top of it, because you know you got to figure that cloak's coming in front of the saddle, right? And you want the top
Yes.
part of the saddle to kind of like round off and disappear behind him, instead of just being, you know, like that forward shape. So you know, if I would shade from the top part of that saddle down to the, you know, to the bottom part there, and fade out the, you know, just going with maybe like even like a, I don't even know if you would use a dark red or like just black, and then just kind of like we were talking about earlier, like feathering it off, like lifting your hand up and feathering it out a little bit, you know, to emphasize that shadow. And that's a deep area, right? Like that's the inside of the cape behind the horse.
Yeah.
So you want that to really kind of mellow out there. And then as far as the pumpkin, so here's a trick that I learned recently with like having things that are like lit up from the inside. I was doing a Nightmare Before Christmas where like the eyes of the pumpkin were glowing. I couldn't get the first time I saw them come back, it didn't look like they were glowing that much. Right? So what I recommend,
you're breaking up on us, man.
you know, any object that's going to be glowing like that.
Oh, now,
am I
now you're
breaking up?
better. Now you're better.
Okay. Anything that's going to be glowing from the inside, right? Like the outside of that is going to be darker, right? So like the value that you have of the eyes and the mouth, it's almost like the same intensity. Like if you were to make that picture in black and white, you know, how much separation are you going to get between the eyes and the mouth and the pumpkin. So what I recommend is maybe like take like a line, like a loose 5 or something, or like a, you know, some small shader, like round shader, and make it a little bit darker on the one edge as the pumpkin's rounding around, but also like the center of those pillows, like how, you know, a pumpkin kind of pillows out and then dips into the line and pillows out. Right. Like, so the center of that gets a little bit darker, but then the edges of it, the orange gets a little bit brighter. And as it moves towards the front of the horse's, towards the horse's head, the orange gets more and more intense. And don't be afraid, like what Ricardo was saying earlier, like just like, don't try to, it's such a small area. I wouldn't try to blend so much. Like just pack it in, you know what I mean? Don't be shy about it. Make it darker on the one side, and then those eyes will get brighter, you know, because the pumpkin itself will be darker. It'll still look orange. You're still going to get that intense type of feel to it, but you'll notice it even more, you know, like especially the
really
face.
quick. So like the darker orange in the corner, like right there, I'm really bad at doing mirrored stuff. Like basically just like gradient that out into something even brighter instead of trying to have the definition that's in there.
No, I would go darker with that edge, like on that backside. So let's call it that's the backside of the pumpkin's head, right? Like, and as it moves towards the front, you know, the face, the carved out part, that's the front of it. So the backside edge there, I would have that very dark. You know, I would have no variance in color on that, like no fading or anything. As it moves more towards the front, those edges are going to be the edge of the pumpkin, like where the line of the contour line of the pumpkin gets dark on that back edge of the line, but as it moves towards the front part where it pillows out a little bit, it gets more orange and less black. And you do that as it moves towards the front, and you're gonna have a gradient where each is going to be less in black as it moves towards the front, and then just rock the orange right over top of it, you know, because that backside edge, it's just like it should just be like a harder, darker edge to it, you know what I mean? And by making that portion of the pumpkin darker as it moves forward, and you're adding those dark values to it, the eyes and the mouth will light up more. Yeah, I experienced this with using a
totally see what you're saying. I totally see what you're talking about.
All right. Yeah, mine was in black and gray, and I was having the issue. I was doing a sleeve, so I did some of the pumpkins, and then I got to take a look at it when it came back, and I was like, they just don't, like, it's not reading right. So I just went balls in and just like almost solid black on the back side of these things, and made the pumpkins themselves, the exterior of the pumpkin, darker. And man, the eyes and the face just lit right up, and it's such a recognizable shape that, you know, you don't need much detail in there. You just want those eyes and that mouth to really stand out, you know?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It looks
no,
it's a fun design though too, and don't be afraid to vary line weights throughout it. You know what I mean? Like with the front leg of the horse and then the hair of the horse and all that. You know?
Yeah, I did a little bit of some difference, not too much. I didn't want it to be too dramatic.
Right.
Like I think that line weight on the front hoof or ankle, yeah, I think that could almost even be carried up and tapered into the chest too.
Yeah,
like up over yonder.
Yeah, a little bit more to our left. So that would be your right. Yeah.
And that the belt that goes under the horse, like the saddle thing, treat that like Ricardo was saying earlier. You know, I would treat that portion of it the same way that you're going to treat the saddle, in that portion is wrapping around, right? Like, so we don't need to see that the belt is separate from the belly at that point because it's all dark.
I was going to say, so I could smooth it out right over here and bring it up like that.
Yeah, the same value. Yeah, because then that belt comes out of the shadow.
No, that makes sense. It's kind of like, why is the belt lighter than the rest of the belly right there if it's so dark?
Right, the whole thing should just be that same value.
Yeah,
so
no, for sure.
That's a ballsy design for the back of the knee, man. I can't stand getting the back of my knee tattooed. So
yeah, she's like, you're doing my whole leg. So this is
there you go.
This is a great learning opportunity though, because I did this. I mean, we started it when I was probably like a year into tattooing, and we're like just finishing it now.
Awesome. Yeah, so you're seeing a progression in your own piece.
Yeah, exactly. And even just like as the pieces are going on, because she got like my third tattoo I ever did, and then she got some other ones that we did in not shot areas. So she's been through the whole fucking process since the beginning. So it's pretty cool to see the whole healing process. I've used 3 different inks with her, so even just seeing how that ages is pretty cool.
Yeah.
The only other thing that I would suggest too, and like you're in it now, but I think whenever you approach some of these designs, you know what I mean? It's a good idea to kind of use the reference, but kind of start drawing it the way that you would see to make it fit the space and make it be a little bit more effective too. So you can kind of implement those effects that you're trying to achieve, which is like the glowing pumpkin and stuff like that. So like what you would want to do is kind of draw it in the sense of what's priority. You know what I mean? A guy talks about this a lot, is like prioritizing the subject matter. You know what I mean? So like bringing some things, making them a little bit larger than what they are normally in as far as the reference goes and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like just kind of redrawing it and reapproaching it to where it would make a little bit more sense and be a little bit more effective, so you can get those achievable effects that you're trying to make happen. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah,
You're saying
absolutely.
like an
No,
effective
completely.
exaggeration, right?
Exaggeration, yeah. Like don't be afraid to exaggerate it, for sure. Because like that was one of the things that I always struggled at the very beginning of tattooing, where you're at too, is like I have to make it look the way that it does in the picture. You know what I mean? And my eye goes, when I was doing that a lot, depending on the printer, if it printed off light, then my tones would be light because of it. You know what I mean? Because I was trying to match it exactly. You know what I mean? But you have to kind of like just try to bump up the contrast, try to bump up all the priority as far as the subject matter goes. So that's one thing to take into consideration whenever you start approaching these next few projects for yourself too. Like what you got going on in the background. Yeah. Yeah. Like so just make some of the things more focal points. You know what I mean? Where do you want people, what do you want them to see more? And like what isn't really that important? Like the dissipation of that horse's body, that stomach area, it takes up a large portion of the tattoo itself, and it didn't really have to be like that. Like the cape could have taken over a little bit more of the negative space and stuff like that to kind of help cut it off or like frame it out. So that's something to think about, like as far as what your elements that you're dealing with. And next time, exactly.
Next time.
Yeah,
but it's cool that you have a client like that that's willing to work with you and stuff, because that's what it's all about. Is like you have to learn one way or another. You know what I mean? So, and the cool part with the iPads and Procreate is that you can kind of take a picture of the area and draw it in a couple different versions and see what works best too.
Yeah. No, I'm super stoked. I love the constructive criticism I got today too. I really appreciate that shit. And I mean, seeing the progression that I've made even since last year at the same time, it gets me excited to see what comes next year even,
Absolutely. Yeah, man. Well, thanks for being open. Thanks for being open to the interpretation of it. You know what I mean? Because that was one of the hardest parts for me early on, dude, was like even subjecting myself to the criticism, to the critiques. You know what I mean? It was impossible for me to do. You know what I mean? So the fact that you can ask questions like that and be willing and susceptible in a vulnerable way, as far as like, because as artists, man, we take it so personally sometimes, but if you can kind of put that aside and keep taking critiques and stuff like that, man, you're going to see a lot more growth a lot faster too.
And I figure, you guys know what you're talking about. So I like to take pointers from that shit, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, keep in mind too that those opportunities for us to talk about this kind of stuff are, like if somebody's asking us and we're offering constructive criticism, it works just the same as if we were asking somebody else for constructive criticism on our work, because when you have those conversations, it just reinforces all that knowledge.
Yeah,
absolutely. So I really appreciate you guys. I got a tattoo that I need to be at the shop for in 22 minutes. So I will talk to you guys later.
Cool,
Let
man.
me, before you go, actually, this is a chance for some critique. I'm going to throw one up that I'm working on. It's a flash design that I'm taking to the show with me, and I wanted to kind of get everyone's opinion on this.
Solid.
Spotlight.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's fucking very saturated. It's super bright. I love that negative space around the black with the teal contrasting the pink and stuff. You know what I mean? And the green even. Like it even works with the green down at the bottom. So, because you have it separated with that shadowed kind of green.
Right.
But I think the question is like, where would you put it? And then would you do anything else with the background?
So, and that's something I've been playing with. I was thinking about doing some like light sweeps with like some blue instead of doing like the teal halo around it. Maybe getting rid of like, if I got rid of that and then just kind of did like, maybe even just some like light, like royal blue sweeps coming in the background just to help create a little bit more.
Oh, yeah.
flow.
Oh, dude, put water in there like that.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, man. Like,
The
and then
water
have
on-
some of the water, some of the waves come from behind the flower to those in front of the stem and in front of the petals, and then have the other ones behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, because you gotta try to think of a way to like finish it off, and I would definitely do like some waves and stuff.
Just
And
some
then
motion. Yeah, the flower itself is killer.
Yeah, having the motion in the background is going to help pull it together immensely for sure.
Yeah.
Yo, Jason, have one of those strips, like the water, go over that back pedal, but
Yeah.
behind the stem and the front pedal. It's on the bottom.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So now you're like,
yeah, you're talking like something like this.
yeah, there you go. Yep.
Ooh,
Yeah, but then
yeah,
behind
coming
the
in
stem.
and out.
Yeah.
Then behind
kinda
the
pushes
stem.
that pedal back. Yeah, I would go behind the stem and then have other water come down in front of the stem on the bottom to finish it off, like just a couple of finger waves. So you're getting like different layers, you know what I mean? So it looks like parts of the flower are coming through different parts of the water.
All right. I see what
Yeah,
you're
that
saying.
added a lot.
So I was considering
Jake,
doing something like a finger wave here.
Yeah, on the front side there. On the bottom though, have it
Yeah.
come from behind that flower, like a down scoop instead of an overhead thing. Have it come down, like and back up again, like a U.
Okay.
Well, y'all have a good one though, because I do have to get out
All
of
right,
here.
have a good
Yeah,
day,
man.
bud.
Have a
Take
good
it
one,
I'll see
bud.
y'all next Sunday.
All right.
Yeah.
Peace out.
Well, next Sunday we might not be doing this just because I'll be at the show.
Oh,
So
okay.
depending
Well,
on what
then
I have
Sunday
lined up,
after.
I might do a webcast, but it all kind of depends on the internet there. So
No, dude, you enjoy yourself, have a good time, and good luck.
I always do.
I know you're the person that has the toxic trait of making other people have a good time with you, right?
I do, and it's a curse, it really is. It's a burden, but if that's my cross to bear, it is.
Hey, I'll take it, dude. I'd rather have that toxic trait than some of the other ones we could list off. But y'all have a good one.
Yeah.
Have
Take
fun
care, bud.
tattooing, man. See you.
Later, bud.
Yeah, I'm gonna get going too.
Yeah, we're about at that time. So let me go through. Ricardo, I'm going to spotlight you and just tell everyone how we can get a hold of you.
What's up, everybody? My name is Ricardo Sturdivant. You can reach me on Instagram at the same name, Ricardo Sturdivant. Feel free to reach out, DM me, say what's up. And Jason, it's always a pleasure being here, man. Seth, it's great to see you again. You guys have a good day. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yep.
And Seth, we'll bump over to you. Tell us how we can get a hold of you.
You can find me on Instagram at Seth Mushrush, spelled exactly how it sounds. I have a website, SethMushrushArt.com. Either one of those are fine. And you can find me at Baker Street Tattoo in Media, PA, and also the Gallery Tattoo Studio in Concord, Massachusetts.
Nice.
Always a pleasure, Jason. Thank you so much. Great conversation today.
I agree. And let me move over to myself. And thanks a lot, everyone, for tuning in today. As always, if you like today's episode, hit that like and subscribe button. Drop a comment. Let us know how we're doing. If there's anything you want us to talk about on upcoming episodes, as always, leave a comment. We'll be sure to check those. And yeah, we'll be able to discuss anything you want. Until then, I hope everyone keeps their hands moving. Hope you guys like today's session. And if we don't see you next weekend for episode 103, we'll see you the following weekend. So until then, take care, be safe, and yeah, keep creating.
Yeah.
All right, peace out.